Welcome back to modules 4 and 5. This is the second of 3 videos covering the problem of evil, pain, and suffering. So let me get you started with this. Have you ever looked at the world around you and wondered, why does a good God allow so much suffering in this world? Now we're going to explore this and the answers to this in 3 sections. 3 main questions. The first one is, why did God create evil, or did God create evil? The second one is, why doesn't he step in and stop it when it's happening? And the third is, why doesn't he just destroy it? Where did it come from? Why doesn't he help us? And why doesn't he just shut all of it down? And those 3 questions of origin, of experience, and of finality, those arise when we're considering 3 attributes of who God is: his omnipotence, his omnibenevolence, and his omniscience. The fact that he's all-powerful, all-good, and all-knowing. If he's all-powerful, he has the power to destroy evil and to step in. If he's all-good, he wants to, has the desire to do it. And if he's all-knowing, then he knows what to do to handle it. So let's dive into each of these questions together and uncover the answers step by step. So the first one is, did God create evil? This is the question of beginnings. Now, when we look back at Genesis chapter 1, it tells us that God saw everything that he had made, and it says that indeed it was very good. That's Genesis 1:31. Now, you fast forward to chapter 6, which isn't that far away, and by chapter 6, it says the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of his thoughts of his heart were on evil continually. That's Genesis 6:5. So how did this shift occur? All of God's creation was affirmed as good at the outset, yet here is an argument that has solidified over the years that suggests that God is the creator of that evil shift. The argument goes something like this: God is the creator of everything. That's the first step. Evil is something. Therefore, God is the creator of evil. Let me say it again. God created everything. Evil is something. Therefore, God created evil. Now, this argument seems logical, but it's not sound. And I can tell you why. It's because the second premise is actually incorrect. Evil is something. The truth is that evil is not a thing at all. Evil is like darkness. It's an absence of something, like light, that ought to be there. Evil relies on good for its very definition. Evil is actually more than just the absence of good, it's the privation of good. Think of like a donut with a hole in the middle. What makes the donut unique is the hole in the center, but the hole itself, although it's real, is nothing at all. It's only defined by the donut surrounding it. And evil is not merely an absence of something, it's the privation of good, which means something very specific. It means that it's not just missing, but it's missing and it ought to be there. So consider these 2 examples. If I were to hold up a rock and say, look at this blind rock, you wouldn't think anything was wrong with the rock. Although it has an absence of sight, the rock has no business seeing. So it's just absent sight. But if I brought in front of you a man and said, look at this blind man, you wouldn't just be able to say that he had the absence of sight. We would also be able to say that he has the privation of sight. In other words, absence means it's not there and it shouldn't be, but privation is something that ought to be present and it's not. So the question, did God create evil? The answer, no. God didn't create evil because evil's not a thing. God created a world that was good, indeed very good, but he also created beings with the freedom to choose. And those beings, humans, made evil a reality. As theologian Norman Geisler noted, God created the fact of freedom, but we perform the acts of freedom. God made evil possible, but men made evil actual. Now think about that for just a moment. Did God make a mistake? In Genesis chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? No. We made a mistake. Humanity did. So remember, God did not create evil, but he created us with freedom that makes true love and choices possible. He never forces himself on us. And because of that, he allows us to have the freedom to choose to do good and to be in good relationship with him. But in order to have that choice, it means that we also have the option not to do that, to do evil. So God didn't create evil. The second part is, why doesn't God just step in? Why does he allow evil to continue? Why didn't he step in and stop it? Why doesn't God step in, like in moments, in the Old Testament, like the garden, where could he have stopped in and kept Eve from eating the forbidden fruit? Why doesn't he just jump in when somebody pulls a gun on somebody else and turn the gun into a banana before they murder them or shoot them? Why didn't he prevent tragic events like 9/11 by stopping the people that were taking over the planes? Could have given them an instant heart attack or something. Why is it that so many people have prayed for healing after they hear terrible words like, you have cancer? And they begin to pray and ask God to do something, and they pray and their prayers seemingly go unanswered. Where is God in these moments? Now, understanding why God allows evil to continue starts with grasping free will in the fall of man. Really getting your handle around the fact that free will is part of God's good creation. Free will is the ability to make an unforced decision between two or more alternatives and options. And there's nothing inherently evil about free will, but we can use it in ways that are contrary to God's will. So, what would it look like? Just play it out. If God prevented every evil act from happening. The problem would be that God can't stop all evil acts from happening without actually taking away our freedom to choose to do good things or bad things, which would mean no free will, which would mean we'd be forced to be who we are. Now, in God's sovereignty, he gave us free will, and he knew that it would lead to the fall of man, the death of his own son, and the suffering that's in this world. Now, could God have chosen not to give us free will? It might seem logical at first, but without free will, a freely chosen love between creature and creator would not be authentic. So why does God allow evil? Well, if he didn't, there would be no freedom to choose good. Evil exists because of our misuse of free will in a way that deviates from God's will. And all of this free will was actually part of God's perfect creation. But since the time of Adam and Eve, humanity has chosen selfish motivations over God's design. C.S. Lewis said it like this. He said, I believe this to be a fact, and I've noticed it, that the more holy a man becomes, the more fully he is aware of how unholy he really is. So remember, evil continues because of our choices. God's never the cause of our pain, but he never waits to hurt. God allows it so that true love and genuine relationship with him can exist. So God didn't create evil, and we understand now why he can't step in and doesn't step in all the time when bad things are happening, but there's still that third question. Why doesn't God just destroy all evil and defeat it and just let's shut this thing down? This is the long-standing argument that has come against Christianity when it comes to this particular question. Why doesn't God step in and destroy evil? It goes like this. If God is all good, if your God's all good, he would destroy evil, and he wants to. If God's all powerful, he has the power to destroy evil, and he could do it. But evil is not yet destroyed. And the conclusion that the critics of Christianity come to is that if God's all good, he could destroy evil, he's all powerful, he would destroy evil, but evil is not destroyed. Therefore, nanny boo-boo, your God doesn't exist. Now that argument seems to build and just seems to stop maybe the conversation in its tracks when you're talking about Christianity. But the problem with it is it's missing just one little crucial word, and it's the word yet. God has not defeated evil yet, but that doesn't mean that he won't. And since we haven't finished yet with all of history, it is possible that all evil in history will one day cease. Imagine like history as a symphony orchestra playing a multi-movement sonata or concerto, and you're listening to just one little piece of it as you walk in the room, and that one moment when you walk in the room, it is dissonant and loud and noisy and just irritating to the ear. Now, that doesn't mean the entire concert is unjustified or terrible. It only means that that one little piece is dissonant. But only the full piece reveals the purpose of that one moment. And we can't see all of time. Only God can. So the argument has to be reframed like this. If God is all good, he will defeat evil. If God is all powerful, he can defeat evil. And evil is not yet destroyed or defeated. Therefore, our God can and will and must one day defeat evil. See, God's plan is unfolding, and one day evil will be defeated. In fact, in the Bible, he tells us exactly how it's going to happen. So as we face the reality of evil and suffering today, remember, God didn't create evil, and God will one day destroy evil. But until then, we have to trust in his perfect timing and hold on to the hope of what is to come. So let's take a moment just right now and reflect on this simple truth and the comfort of the good theology of knowing that our God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all good. And one day, there will be no more pain and no more suffering, because our God will destroy and remove all evil and deliver his people from the very presence of evil, pain, and suffering.